Hi there, and welcome to Fiber and Floral, a mostly knitting podcast. My name is Becca, and I am a knitter, a multi-crafter, a sewist, an embroiderer. Take your pick. I've done it, or at least tried it. Living in Berlin, Germany, I work as a bilingual educator in a primary school, and today on the podcast, I am going to be showing you guys everything that I've knit in the month of June. It's actually quite strange. I don't even think I touched my machine this month yet. I've had this dress sitting on my chair that I've been working on ever since the middle of May, but I just didn't feel like sewing this month. I've been spinning a lot, which I'll show you later. And for me, I feel like at the moment knitting tends to be my main craft, the main way I work on my creativity, and then I kind of venture between, like, if I have a side craft, it's either sewing or spinning, or I get into really different projects. So for the month of June, I've done a lot of spinning in preparation for the Tour de Fleece, trying to finish a project that I've been working on since February maybe. So today will be mostly knitting and a lot of spinning as well. I'll give you an update on my plants and how we're getting ready. We're beginning to cut some of them to hang so we can color fabric with them later this summer. So that's really exciting. So yeah, I hope you'll stick around. I'm gonna be talking about my newest knit, the Darjeeling Blouse, and my socks of the month, and a really cool Intarsia project I've got going. So thanks for being here, friends. I say it often that the gift of your attention is really valued to me, and I'm really glad you're here. So yeah, let's get started. So like I mentioned before, this is my most recent finished object, is the Darjeeling Blouse by Trust the Mojo. I made size 3, which is, my bust is around 100 centimeters, so it must have been something around that. I debated, because I was using a linen silk blend to go up, because linen doesn't have a lot of elasticity, but linen does stretch out. So I made the size that was recommended for me, and the arms and the body were really tight when I first took it off the blocking mats, but it has stretched out significantly since wearing it. I've probably worn this 4 or 5 times since I finished it like a week ago. And yeah, it's only gotten softer, and it's kind of stopped stretching out. It's at like a good point. However, yeah, I'm really glad I stuck with size 3. So if you're debating that as well, just throw that in there. This shirt I've seen it a lot of different places right now, and I think it's just a classic but elevated t-shirt. It's mostly stockinette, like 98% stockinette. However, it has this sweet little edging on the bottom of the sleeves that's like a scalloped edge instead of ribbing or an I-cord. And then it has, I think it's just 6, it might just be 6 rows of this lace pattern. And it just adds this really elevated, like a little place to draw your eyes. So it's at the bottom of the sleeves and at the bottom of the hem. And yeah, I am just absolutely obsessed. I would absolutely knit this again. It is knit bottom up, which was the first time I'd ever done a sweater with sleeves in that construction. Sometimes the words just don't come to you, even though it's a word you use so often. Yesterday, I forgot the word for towel in German when I was speaking to someone. I was taking my daughter to swim class, and the lady switched into English, and I was like, no, I speak German. It's just this one word, and I was so embarrassed. This happens quite often between either languages, that you forget one word that you know, and in 30 seconds you're gonna know it, but in that moment, it makes me feel quite foolish. Anyways, where was I? This is my first time knitting bottom up. So the thing with bottom up, and I actually heard Casey from Young Folk Knits recently talk about this. I think she's knitting her second one of these this summer. And she talked about, she knit the crop version, which for me is perfect. I have relatively small bust and a relatively short torso. I'm 150 centimeters, or like around 5'1". And so for me, the cropped was absolutely perfect. It hits a little bit below my natural waist. And like when I wear shorts, it kind of hits right below where my shorts hit. So for me, it's perfect. For her, because I think she has a larger bust, it was way too short. So that's something to take in mind. There is a cropped length, a middle length, and a longer length, but it's just something like you can't really adjust the length as you go. You kind of have to make one and figure it out. But luckily for me, this fits really well. I would even maybe consider shortening it a little bit next time, because I am so petite. But for this version, it's absolutely stunning. I'm really, really happy with it. It has 5 buttons, and I chose these little buttons from Etsy. I probably went to 4 different stores in Berlin before finding the right buttons. And I eventually just looked on Etsy, and they're these sweet little, like, I don't even know, like, they kind of have a pearlescent look to them and a gold around the edges. And I think they kind of just add like a really modern vibe to this, but while still remaining classic. And that's what I really liked about them. So overall, absolutely in love with this pattern. I could see knitting a few more of these, honestly. I think this is just a really classic shirt, and I'd really love to. Originally, I blocked in some knitting for Olive Pure Silk because I was thinking about knitting it, and I just, even though it's a fingering, this is a, sometimes I get ahead of myself. This is a sport weight gauge. It's 22 stitches on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I'll get to what yarn I used in a second. But I originally had some knitting for Olive, and I was gonna trial that. So even though knitting for Olive Pure Silk is a fingering, I was able to get gauge, and it actually is a really, really nice light fabric. It's got some looseness in there, even though it is an animal fiber. It's really nice wearing this summer, and with that, and it's just a really nice gauge. So I could see doing it in this rusty orange color for next summer with knitting for Olive Pure Silk. It is, yeah, but I really love this. Now to the yarn. This yarn I used was so interesting. I think I've mentioned here before how much I love linen. I love working with linen. I love sewing with linen, knitting with linen. I just think linen is one of the best fibers in the world. Only second to wool in my heart. But I used Gepard Her Silk. I saw Joanna by Colibri, or Joanna Gihirsch, pull this up. I think she was designing something with it, and I just instantly fell in love and knew that I wanted to try it out. It is 30% Tussa silk and 70% French linen, and it is just incredible on the skin. I love it. I wasn't sure how the silk was going to wear, if it was going to be too warm in the summer, but I have worn this. We've had really hot streak here in Berlin. I wore it to our local community gardens last Saturday. We biked there for an hour in like the middle of the afternoon, walked around the park and biked back, and this was just delightful to wear. I wore it under a dress and kind of opened up the front, so it was more like a cardigan, but it felt so cool on my skin. It was nice and airy. It repelled any moisture, and it was just a really nice way of like having something on my body to like eliminate sun exposure, but was so light and dry, and I love this fiber. I cannot say enough about how good this wears. And I think linen can be really straw-like to work with. I mean, once you get used to it, I don't mind it, but I remember the first time going from like merino to linen was just quite a big shock. and takes you a bit to get used to. It is going to soften up as you wear it. But I found that like combining linen with silk kind of already gives it that softness. So if you're kind of new into summer knits, I think the linen silk blend is a phenomenal place to start, because silk is also going to give you just a tad bit of elasticity. It doesn't, obviously it's nothing compared to like a wool or a merino, but it's going to give you just a tiny little bits of something you're used to. And it adds just a softness. And I think it just has this beautiful shine that you really can't get with any other fiber. I am in love with this yarn, would absolutely use it again. This is Her Silk by Gepard, and this is the color Birch, which is just their whitish cream color. I was really worried it was going to come out super white, and I even feel like it like yellows as you knit with it. I don't actually, maybe not, but it's a really nice like creamy color, and I love it. The one thing that I didn't like about it, which I looked into why they did this, linen can be quite a heavy fiber. It's a lot heavier per meter than a wool, so to speak. And so one way that some yarn companies get around this is when they're making linen, they will do a chain ply. And I feel like so instead of like it really being like plied as in like an S spin, which maybe if you're not a spinner, you don't know what that means. Here, let me find. An S or a Z spin, it's just, you can tell that like it's just kind of twisted around. This is like what most yarns would do. This is a 2-ply, but most yarns are like an 8-ply, and it's either called a Z spin or an S spin depending on which way you go. But a chain ply is literally like you're making almost like a crochet, like you're making the crochet chain. And so when you pull on this, let me see if I can move my hand in a way that you can see. So when you pull, it actually pulls the whole thing out. It's actually just a single strand, and then it comes unraveled if you pull on it, which this is probably my first time knitting with a chain plied yarn, and I did not like it. I know the reason for it. It helped me. Like, I'm definitely one of those people who, if you give me a rule or tell me to do something, I have to know why, and it has to make sense for me to like follow it or be okay with it. As most kids are, educator advice. But once I found out the reason for chain ply, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm getting my meter edge out of it. So a chain ply is a lot thinner, or a lot, you can kind of get air between it, so to speak. And so it's a way to counteract the heaviness of linen and also give your knits a lighter feel. And so it does make a great wearable fabric, and really light, especially when working with linen. So fine, I'll tolerate it, but it was a pain to knit, or at least it took some getting used to, because when you're used to working with a wool, it's just, you just knit with it. It doesn't come apart. Even though it's like plied, it acts as one string. But this, my needle kept getting stuck in like the different parts. They kind of stick out. And so sometimes I'd have to go back and like loop it up, and it was just, yeah, it was one of those I couldn't really like easily not look at, especially because you have to purl on one side. So I always kind of had to pay attention to what I was doing. Ultimately though, I would absolutely knit with this yarn again. I would just be wise in picking a project. For instance, I don't even think I would do lace with it. Like, I think the lace is really beautiful, and maybe for this it's okay, but I would probably just choose a straight stockinette project next time. Even like a project in the round. I don't know if I would do anything back and forth. That being said, I love this project. I would maybe give it a 9 out of 10 just because it was a little difficult with the yarn, but ultimately, no, I don't even know. It might just be a 10. I love this project. Like I said, I've worn it 4 out of 5 times. Excuse me, 4 or 5 times in the last week. it's just stunning. And because I chose a neutral, I've worn it as like a cardigan over a dress. I've worn it with a skirt. I've worn it with shorts. I just feel like this is just a great basic elevated tee in my closet, and I'm absolutely in love with it. I would absolutely recommend the pattern. It's always interesting reading patterns from a designer for the first time, and she is a French designer, and so she does write her patterns a little bit differently. She has no charts, which I didn't love. I do tend to love charts, but everything was super legible. It was easy to follow. And that being said, I would probably say this is more of a intermediate knit, just because I feel like if you're a beginner, you could get really overwhelmed with the way the pattern is written. Even though there's nothing wrong with it, I think it does just take more of an advanced knowledge of knitting, or an intermediate knowledge of knitting. I am not advanced by any means, but stunning pattern. I think the fit is amazing. I love the way, gosh, I'm just all over the place. I should really take better notes. I love the way that the shoulder seam comes up and you kind of get this nice little like statement shoulder on this side. I think it's called a contiguous shoulder. Is that it? But I loved the way this all came together. It was so cool to see how the decreases all came and the way the shoulders shape. I love the shaping, and I love the way the garment falls on me. Just, it's fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough. This, once again, this is the Darjeeling Blouse by Trust the Mojo. Stunning. My only other finished object this month is the Seedling Socks by Knit Not Sew, and this is a test knit that I did. It's still going on. I believe the socks should come out around like the 11th or 12th of July, but I made these my June socks, and they just came off the blockers this morning, and I love them so much. I really was attracted to these because a seedling, as you know, as I've talked about a lot, I'm starting a garden, or I've kind of been getting into gardening the last couple of years, but this year I went really hard on it, and I'm become a plant mom. It's a whole thing. And so it was really special. Like, it was just a really sweet way to start spring, with like planting the seeds with my kids, and then like every day watching to see how our little plants had grown. And so I kind of want to just commemorate that. I think this is a really lovely stitch pattern, and just a really lovely sock to knit. It's very simple. You do your twisted rib, and then the colorwork motif of the little seedling, and then you have your basic heel and gusset, followed by a stockinette foot. If you've never done colorwork on socks before, I don't know if I would recommend this pattern, because I think you have these places where there are more than like 8. I think there's even like this row, there's like 13 stitches in between the reds. And so if you're not used to catching floats, it can be a little difficult. However, if you've done a few colorwork socks before, this is absolutely doable. Or if you're just, eager to learn. We had a few people in the tester group that had never done colorwork socks before, and they were able to do this. I think a couple of them ripped back a few times to like get the tension right, but they managed to complete them, and all of them are so beautiful. I always think it's so interesting to knit socks along with people. That's why I like test knitting, and it's just so interesting to see the different colors people choose. So for the sock is knit on 2.5 millimeter needles, which I am very much a 2.25 millimeter person. I think most of my socks at this point, I probably have 10 to 15 pairs of socks that are 2.25 millimeters, but it was a nice change of pace. It went a little bit faster to knit on 2.5 millimeter needles, and I knit the size small, so on a 2.25 millimeter sock, I would normally do a 64 stitch size, and so this was 56, and I really like the fit. So just if you're kind of in between, or if you're switching between 2.25 and 2.5 millimeter needles, this might be the size small might fit you really well. It fits me quite well. And yeah, I'm really happy with them. I used Long Yarn's sock yarn for the first time. Do I have that? I don't think I do. I normally use Arvetta by Ficolana, which is just what my yarn store just happens to carry. But my local fabric store carries Long Yarn sock, and so I used that for the first time, and it's actually a Corriedale sock yarn. So Arvetta's is merino, I believe, and so knitting with Corriedale was really interesting. I know Corriedale from spinning. It's a really beginner friendly fiber, and so I thought this was really interesting to try out. I know some people who have mentioned really not liking to knit with it. I really like it. I think it's a lot softer than Arvetta, so I'm interested to see how it wears. It does seem to be a little bit thinner, but it also comes with a spool of extra thread in the middle in case you need to can you hear my daughter? In case you need to repair some socks, or you can even hold it for the heel. But actually, I'm just looking at it now, and it seems like the fiber, I haven't even worn these yet. Like I said, I took them off the blocking mat this morning, and the fiber is already starting to pill, which is interesting. Or maybe that's just like, Corriedale is a little bit furrier than merino. Like it kind of has a little bit of a halo. And then like the stitch definition on the heel flap is also not so good. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I do like trying different yarns and like comparing different blends. So I thought this was a good opportunity, but I'm interested to see how these wear. But yeah, these are my Seedling Socks by Knit Not Sew, my June socks. And as of this pair, I have completed 6 socks this year in 6 months, and I'm really happy with them. They're really beautiful. And yeah, I've got a good collection of socks going. So those are my 2 finished objects. I feel a little disappointed actually with how little I have to show you, but that's fine. It is the end of the school year for us. Like I said, I work in a primary school. I work with 1st and 2nd graders, and this time of year has been insane. It's always weird for me working in the German school system, because if you're American, I grew up in America, in the United States, and so I'm used to getting out in like late May and then going back to school in August, and we don't get out of school here in the German school system until like July 24th, and then we don't go back until mid-September, and it's so strange. So I'm looking forward 1 more month. I actually go on a small vacation. Like I have like a 4-day vacation over a weekend, like right before school lets out. But like summer is coming, and I'm thrilled. But yeah, there's just been a lot going on with reports and end of the year field trips and things like that. So showing myself a little bit of grace, but also kind of wishing that I got more done. But that's okay. This is for fun. And speaking of fun, look at that transition. Actually, hang on. Ruin that transition. I'm gonna drink some coffee. Anyways, speaking of fun, my first whip is the Before Bloom bandana by Anna Huseman. She is famous for her Intarsia, and as you can see, it is just absolutely stunning. Like, look at that. Look at it. I know that lots of people hate Intarsia, but I absolutely think it is one of the most fun things out there. And this is such a test of my skill, because right now I only have, do I have 4? 5. I have 5 threads on the back. I'll turn it around so you can see it's kind of a mess right now, but I will obviously sew all these in and it will look really, really pretty on the back as well as the front. But so at some point I'm holding 5 balls of yarn. And then at one point down here, I was holding like 9 when I was like knitting like the first little ball here, and then this, and then the purple and the oranges, and each section with Intarsia gets a different ball, and then you wrap it around and continue. It's not like stranded color work where you're holding out, like if you have 2 colors, you're holding 2 at the same time and straining them along the back. With Intarsia, you pick up a ball, knit, get to where you stop, wrap it around, kind of like switch the yarns over each other, and then keep going with the next one. And so I find it really easy once you know what you're doing and how to practice. However, it does require you to like lug around this huge thing. And so it's definitely worth trying. And this pattern, the Before Blue Bandana, is available in Anna's book, Intarsia Knits. It is available in multiple languages. I know my local library has it in English and German. And so I've checked it out from my local library. And it was just I did it mainly because I wanted this pattern, and I believe this pattern is only available in the book. But I found the resource. It is a great resource for Intarsia. If you have been wanting to try Intarsia, it's just, I learned, like, I already know how to do Intarsia. I've done several projects with it already, but I learned so many new techniques in this book, including how to wrap a little bit neater. And I feel like you can tell I don't have all the Intarsia I've done is for my kids, and they've all grown out of them. No, there's one that I still have, but they're all in my basement. But you can, like, I just think that looks really neat. And I think her instruction on how to wrap and carry yarn is so good. I was really impressed with just the tips. There's how to do Intarsia in the round, which has something that I've actually been considering doing and making a sweater. Ooh. Oh, I just had a crazy idea. Okay. I feel like it's like when you're talking to a friend. I do this with my novel. Like, I'm writing a children's novel, and sometimes I just can't figure something out, and then I'll get to my writing group, or I'll talk with my best friend who's also a novel writer, and it will just, like, the answer was there all along. And it was just, I needed to talk about it to someone. It's not enough sometimes to get it out of your brain, but to know, I just had like a moment where, like, talking to the camera, I just had this idea of like what to make, but I'll get to that later. So yeah, she has like some instruction on how to do Intarsia in the round, and there's just lots of amazing projects. There's vests, there's hats, there's, I think, is the balaclava in the book, or is that just, I think the balaclava is online, but she has amazing Intarsia projects that I would definitely look into. I am obsessed. She's one of the designers that I'm currently obsessed with, and I mean, like, come on, how incredible is that? And a great at stash busting. Like, I had, this is from my May sock leftover. I had like 15 grams left over for this. And then this is left over from a Christmas sweater. It's knitting for Olive. This is also leftover sock yarn. And then this, the main color, you do need roughly 50 grams. And so for that, I just happen to have a whole ball of, or a whole skein of Filcolana by Arvetta, or Arvetta by Filcolana. You know, I always get those confused. So you do need the main color. You need roughly 200 yards of sock, or like a fingering weight yarn. So like a ball. And yeah, so other than that, it's just like you need a ball of sock yarn and then some scraps. And I love that. You could even do, like, she recommends doing 3 colors, but honestly, for every little, there's like these tiny little balls that require maybe 2 grams each. And you could even use like the tiniest of scraps and do those all in different colors. Yeah, my daughter was watching me knit this morning and was like, so where is mine? And I was like, oh, I could knit you one, I guess. I would knit this over and over. It's so much fun. And I really don't think it requires that much yarn. And I, because it uses fingering weight yarn it calls for 3mm needles. I'm using 2.75 because my 3mm were busy. But whatever. I mean, I don't think it really affects that much. I love fingering weight scarves, not only in summer, but like as someone, I I don't like that big of scars. Even in winter, I just get really hot. And I feel like the first place that I get really hot is like my head and my chest. Like I want things on my hands at all times and I want things on my feet, but like my neck and head are usually the first layers that I take off. And so I think I actually find that even throughout the winter, fingering weight scarves are really good. They keep the heat in, but they don't overheat me. And I think they're just really easy to wear on your neck. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to having this. Yeah, and I think it's just feels like an actual work of art. Like I feel like I could hang this in a museum. This will be like an heirloom piece for me. I mean, I kind of want to make one for everyone now. I think it would be really cool to like kind of like change the colors based off who you're knitting this for, and I think this would just be a great gift and so fun. And you're able to customize it to like the person you're knitting it for. So yeah. I'm hoping to finish this soon. I just started the decreases though. It took me about a month to get here, but yeah, I'm really happy with it. I just started the decreases and it's only, the more I knit, the more I love it. So yeah, that is the Before Bloom bandana from Anna Husaman. Goodness gracious, my next project. Oh, I thought about sewing in all these ends before showing you, but I kind of also wanted you to commiserate with me about how long it's going to take to sew in all these stripe ends. So, anyways, my next project is the Majorie camisole. I think that's how you say it. Majorie by Quasi Garada Knits. She is one of the founders of my Berlin knitting club group thing. And so she had a pattern sale and I already had the yarn. And so I was like, you know what? I think it would be really nice to like knit a pattern from someone who has formed my knitting group, and I really love going and like meeting other knitters in our city, and so I thought it would be really nice to knit something. It is a fingering weight gauge on 27 stitches per 10 centimeters, and it has a open back and open strap feature. I'll post a picture here, but what's really nice is there's the open back version, there's the open strap version, and then there's like the boring version, which like is like the bra friendly strap that's like a thick strap, and then there's also the closed back, and so you can kind of mix and match too. So if you wanted like the bra friendly but with the open back, or if you wanted the open strap but the closed back, so you're kind of getting 4 patterns in one, which is really nice. But I am doing the closed straps and the closed back, but I'm doing stripes. This is also top down, but she does her top down a little bit differently. You start like with a professional cast on, like around here where you do the body shaping, do it, and then you can go back and knit the straps. And that way is to make sure that you get like the straps as long as you want. I did not do that. I just kind of guessed. I have another tank top and I measured the straps from there and just went ahead and did the straps top down. But either way you want to do, you can find that information on my Ravelry if you're interested in knowing how I did that and like what measurements I did. But I mean, strap length is very individual. So I like the idea of it being top down. And what you could even do, if I had been smart, I would have done this. I would have done the provisional cast on and gotten down to like around where I like under my bust and then gone back and done the straps, but I did not think about that. But that's for next year. So yeah, it's just a very simple fingering weight tank top, but I didn't have one of these in my patterns, and yeah, just really wanted to support a friend and a local knitter. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I mean, I don't have very much, but I've gotten to where you're knitting in the round, and so it's just my take along and go knit. We're going to my husband and I are going to a concert tonight. One of his friends is playing like just a very small concert with 3 other artists, and it's a very chill venue, and I'm gonna take this along and kind of just knit because I don't know if I can sit still for 3 hours. Like, I don't think I've done that in years. So I'm just gonna take this. I don't have to look at it, and I could just just go. And so the yarn I'm using is a combination. Actually, I'll go ahead and say the orange. The orange is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I've had like 1.75 skeins of this just like sitting in my stash for years, and I've been wanting to use it. So one skein I want to be like maybe a little scarf or maybe like a hair accessory or something. And then the other skein I thought would be nice in this little tank top. And I really like it. I think it's so beachy. Like, can you just picture this at the beach with some jean shorts? It's gonna be really cute. And then the white that I'm using is, I'm holding two yarns together. The first is Lena Muga from Volen, which is my local yarn store. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I knit with this for the first time last year, and I held it triple for a sport weight gauge. It is a light fingering weight with 245 meters, 450 grams, 100% linen, and from Lithuania. And this is the color Off-White. They produce this in-house. This is like their only in-house yarn, and I love it. And every year they do this big knit along that I like to do. And they kind of get, because it is a light fingering, you usually have to either hold it double, triple, quadruple, whatever, or hold it with something. And they have a bunch of yarns. Last year I held it triple by itself. This year I got Ito from, Kinu from Ito, which is a 100% light fingering silk. And so I really loved knitting this linen silk blend so much, I went ahead and held it together again. And I love, like, linen and silk is my new like favorite summer yarn. Any linen silk blend, let me know. I want to knit with it. I'm completely serious. If you know any yarn blends like that, please comment below, because I want to try them all. I love trying different yarns and like love comparing them. And so linen and silk is like this summer's new obsession. But because it's not chained, but you hold it together, I find it to be a lot easier to knit, even though you're holding double, and I find it really, really soft. It's just so nice. And then you get the pure silk stripes in between, and it's just, I love it so much. And I think last year I also knit a tank top out of this linen, and it was the Tip Top Tank by Emily Bouldain. It's a free pattern. However, I wasn't completely happy with it. The more I wore it, the more I realized there were just some fit issues, which for a free pattern, it's fantastic. Nothing against Emily. It is a fantastic pattern. But the difference is I noticed that in the front and the back, there's not a lot of difference in the shaping. Whereas in this pattern by Bella, the back and the front shaping are very different. The back is a little bit lower, the front's a little bit higher, and even like the neckline on the inside is shaped differently from the armholes on the outside, which is fantastic. I feel like as a sewist, fit is really important to me, and shaping, especially around the shoulders and arms. I'm very particular about how things fit, and I don't like extra fabric bunching or anything like that. And so I was really impressed by the armhole shaping on this pattern. I think I paid maybe €3 for this, which is around like $3.50 US with it on sale. And I think just from the shaping alone, it's worth it over a free pattern. But however, nothing against the Tip Top Tank. It is stunning, it's free, and it was a great beginner friendly pattern for me last year. But I thought knitting a like Berlin yarn with a Berlin designer was just a fun combination. It's something I could see myself doing every summer. I just like knitting tank tops. I think it's always nice to add one to your wardrobe. And my goal is to knit with Lena Muga every year, and I could see this being my like go-to pattern for it. I think like a black, I kind of want black is like not my color, but like, or maybe like a dark chestnut. Lina Muka comes in like 87 different colors. It's kind of insane. Actually, it might be more. It might be like in the hundreds at this point. But I think like a dark chestnut or like ochre color with like the open back would be really, really cute. So I already kind of wanted to do that this year, but I'm holding myself off. But I think that could be really cute for next year. Kind of like a sexy little tank top. But yeah, what else is there to say? I feel like there's something else I wanted to say. I don't know, but I'm really happy with it. I think it's so summery and so cute, and I'm really excited to get into the just plain stockinette knitting. I think this came at the right time. I have lots of stockinette planned for the next month, and with school closing, like we still have a month left of school. We have tons of work to do. I'm going on vacation. My husband is flying to the States for a wedding, and I'll be alone with the kids. So all that to say, my July is packed. And I'm just really glad that I've picked stockinette projects. I think it's going to be absolutely perfect. So, yeah, that is the Marjorie camisole by Quasi Garata, or Bella as I know her. I actually met her, Bella, and the whole group at Volan's festival last year, or like big yarn festival that they had. And so yeah, it's just a really sweet memory, and I'm really glad to be trying out one of her patterns. And then my last whip, if you will, is my spinning. I have finished up. I'm trying to finish. Here, let me show you. Let me start over. One of my goals for this year was to spin up a sweater quantity and knit my first hand spun sweater. And so I am almost done. This is roughly, oh gosh, I just weighed this morning. I think it's like 250 grams between these two. And then I am on my last two. I've knit like the first ply, which is just like a solid purple that I've dyed up myself. This is also all hand dyed by me. And then this other ply, the second ply, is a mix of the purple, and then you actually can't see many of the colors. They're all kind of like tucked underneath each other, but there's like blue in there. Here, I'll show you this. There's blue, there's orange, there's yellow, there's light purple, there's like a pinky purple, there's brown. It's just a really fun array of color, and it's fingering weight. And I'm going to be knitting the Wool and Honey sweater by Andrea Mowry. At least that's the plan for now. And so I have about 30 grams of this done, and about 70 grams left to go that I need to spin up and then ply together. So, I mean, for a month, I usually only do in between 50 and 100 grams of spinning a month. So this month I've actually done 130 grams, which is pretty good for me. I've been working on these two since February, so getting a whole thing done in a month is pretty good for me. I'm trying, but I've been spinning a lot because the Tour de France is coming up, or the Tour de Fleece, if you will, and I'm wanting to start a new spinning project for that, which I'll just go ahead and transition into. Eula is a local dyer. Eula from Volan Twine. I'm sure most of you have heard of Volan Twine. I feel like she's gotten really big. I met her also at Volan's Wool Festival last year, and she's so kind and amazing, and what she does with plants and plant dyeing and fiber. She has like such a passion for natural fibers and interesting sheep breeds and plant dyes and everything. I just love her, and I love her vibe. I think her eye for color is incredible. So she recently came out with her own line of fiber, and she's also doing a spin along for the Tour de Fleece. You can find all of that on her Instagram or her YouTube channel if you're interested. So I had to get some of her first fiber release. I want to show it to you in the box because it's just the way she even packaged it and like presented it was so like, oh, look at that, like, what is that called? The way it goes from light to dark. See, words, y'all. Ombre of color. Look at that transition of color. Absolutely stunning. So I got 400 grams of fiber, and I just got this one thing, a fingering weight actually, and the fiber is her linen blend, and it is 25% unbleached linen and 75% blue face Leicester. I've actually knit with this before. She has a line of like spun yarn, and I actually have knit with her linen DK, and I made the Sari Nordland Poet Scarf last summer. I love it. It's stunning. And so I was really excited to like have a fiber to spin with. And I've also never spun with linen. I've spun with blue face Leicester. It's actually one of the more beginner friendly sheep to spin with, or fibers to spin with. And so I'm really excited to kind of do something new, but do something known at the same time. Not get too out of my comfort zone. So this is just the original, like this is how it comes undyed. So I got 200 grams of that. And then I got 100 grams of each of this. This is the Camellia colorway, which is just beautiful. This is kind of an impulse. I just love it. It's beautiful. And then this is Berry Jam. And I just like, look at those colors. And this is actually really interesting. This wasn't intentional. I didn't realize it until I put these in my cart. But this is an heirloom 4-ply. It is 100% Exmoor blue face, which is another type of sheep. Feels, interesting. I'm trying to like compare the fibers. I would say it feels very similar to the blue face Leicester actually, but I don't think it's as, I don't think it has much of a halo, but it is really stunning. It's got, once again, it's just like a really nice natural gray color originally. So it provides this like nice base for the purple. And so I really liked the idea of these kind of matching together. And so I added this on. This is blueberry jam, but like the colors aren't mixed fully. And this is not blueberry jam, berry jam in the heirloom 4-ply, and then berry jam in the linen fiber. And so my plan is to spin all these up during the Tour de Fleece. And I'm probably going to apply these together, like one ply will be this one, and then one ply will be, and then so spin those together. And I think that'll just be like a really nice kind of like mix of purpley pinks and orange colors. I think these will mix really well together. And then to spin the other 200 grams of just this. And so I'll have 200 grams of each. And somehow I will want to make some kind of stripy sweater. And this is where I need your help. And then I need to incorporate this purple somehow as well, because I don't know what to make. And it's important to have some kind of idea of what you want to make before you start spinning. Because if I need a sport weight, I need to spin a sport weight. If I need a DK weight, I need to spin a DK weight. If I need a fingering weight, you get the picture. And I don't know what to make. I really want to make a sweater. Originally when I bought this yarn, I thought I was gonna make some kind of scarf, but I'm just not a scarf person. I need scarves. That's on my 2026 bucket list, is like knit more bandanas and scarves, but not right now. I really saw this and I was like, it needs to be some kind of pullover or cardigan or something. So the issue is 500 grams for a sweater in DK is not, I would be pushing it. I've done it. I have like a very cropped sweater that I think I used roughly 400 grams and it's DK weight. However, I think I will just be stressed the whole time. But my point is, so my options, I want to knit something stripy, and I really love striped sweaters, and the drop shoulder look. I just think there's something about like a stripy drop shoulder sweater that is so stunning together. I think it pairs really well. So I need your recommendations. I'm going to start the spin along on June 5th, which is when July 5th, which is when the Tour de France starts. So I only have about a week to decide what I'm going to spin. There's also a group on Discord where everyone who's spinning along. So I might post on there as well and ask for some recommendations. But those are my ideas. Please help me because I don't know what to do. If you're not like if you're not a spinner and not in the spinning community, just real quick, the Tour de Fleece is basically people try to spin along with like as they're watching the Tour de France. The Tour de France is a really famous bike race that goes through all of France. My husband and I watch it every year, and honestly, just because I love the countryside and it's just beautiful. And he's watched it ever since he was a kid, and we, like I said, we bike a ton. And so a few years ago, we started watching it together, and basically it's become a thing for us. If you've been wanting to get into it but don't know where to start, and to be fair, I found it quite overwhelming, like all the different rules and the players, the athletes and the teams. It was quite overwhelming. However, I can recommend the documentary on Netflix, Unchained, which is a documentary about the Tour de France. It covers the last 2 years. There's covers the last for 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and then last year's documentary is coming out on July 2nd, which that's all I will be doing from the 2nd to the 5th of July, is watching this documentary and finishing my spinning. This is how sports should be documented, honestly. It's so much drama. It's so much fun. I told my husband that if all sports were done like this, all I would do is watch sports. It is phenomenal, like edge of your seat drama all the time. I love it. I love it so much. It's so fun. Everyone should watch it, and it helps you kind of like ease into the Tour de France. I'm so excited. The next month, it's gonna be so fun. Yeah, it's something my husband and I look forward to every year. And this year, I wasn't spinning last year. This is my first Tour de Fleece, and I think it's just gonna be such a nice addition. I'm going to try, and I'm going to fail. This is a fail. I know in advance, but like the athletes bike roughly anywhere between 120 and 180 kilometers per day. I forget, there might be some extremes outside of those range, which is insane. Like they bike a ton, and it's not just like flat. They bike like up entire mountains. Like these people are amazing. So my goal is like, if they're biking 120 kilometers a day, I'm going to try to spin 12 grams. Or if they're biking 180 kilometers, I'm going to try to do 18 grams, not 180. That would be insane. That would not be possible. So, which is kind of insane. Like it feels kind of lame to be like, oh, but like 12 grams is a lot for me. I usually could do in between like 5 and 10, but this also depends on what weight I'm doing. Cause I think if I do like a DK weight, I could probably manage to do like 12 grams a day or 18 grams a day, because it's a thicker yarn, and so you get through it faster. But it just depends. So, and then the Tour de France, or the Tour de Femmes, I believe it's called, which is also like the female athletes bike race, happens at the beginning of August. So between these two tours, I'm going to be hopefully spinning this fiber, and I'm so excited. The other thing that I wanted to talk about that I'm also really excited about is I was gifted this beautiful yarn from Mama Wolf. It's not even out yet. It's called Bera, and it should come out this fall. So they sent it out to a few people. I've kind of seen people all over Germany and the EU, and it is Irish wool and UK alpaca blend. It is a DK weight yarn, recommending 20 stitches on 3.5 millimeters, made and spun in Ireland. I And then I got to pick the colorway. There's lots of beautiful, like all the colorways are I don't think there's not, all the colorways are a mixture of color. But what I love about this one is like, it's kind of like a rainbow, but like from far away, it's just like a nice yellowy orange color. But then up close, like, look at that. And it, even on my gauge swatch, I feel like it just came alive. Like, look at that. I feel like it's not even showing up as well. Like, there's purples and there's blues and there's creams and there's pinks, and it's stunning. I am in love with this yarn. Let me read about the information because I also really love everything's happens locally. Sourcing, blending, spinning, dyeing, everything was local in Ireland. And it comes, the word Beara comes from Cailleach Beara, or the Hag of Beara. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's a figure from Irish mythology and folklore. She is often depicted as an ancient, powerful goddess or a wise woman, deeply connected to the Irish landscape and cycles of nature. And so the wool comes straight from Irish farms, and the alpaca as well, British alpaca. And yeah, I just really like it. So I will be going to the UK. I'm going to a art conference in about an hour south of Manchester, England, in the countryside, and staying at a retreat center and attending a conference there. It's something I've attended 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years. I haven't been in a couple years because my youngest still nursing and things like that. But I'm so excited to be going back. There's lots of people that I've gotten to know over the years. One of my friends wrote a children's novel on the life of C.S. Lewis, but like with like a fairy tale-esque element. I forget the name of it. I haven't bought it yet. I need to. I'm gonna post it here in case you're interested. And she was actually writing this the last time I saw her, and now it's out and published. And so I'm so excited to see her again and congratulate her. And maybe I'll bring the book and get her to sign it. Maybe I can buy it there. Oh, there's gonna be a marketplace. So yeah. And then like the conference is really about like relationship. It's about art, but like it's about building like an artist community. And so like all the meals are like at these beautiful tables, like these like farm to table meals with wine, and everyone just sits around and does their art, and it's wonderful. So I'm excited to be going. I'm going in 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. It is the first time I've ever been away from my youngest. And I'm a little bit nervous, but also really excited for 4 days without kids. But since I'm going to the UK, I thought knitting a UK Irish blend wool would be the thing. And I have 200 grams of this. So 2 skeins. It comes in 100 grams is 212 meters. And I am going to be attempting to knit a whole vacation vest by, who's that by? The Vacation Vest by Park Williams, which is supposedly a worsted weight, but like I said, I did a gauge swatch on 5mm needles, and it's actually perfect. It's going to make a great fabric. It's so nice. So I'm going to attempt to knit the Vacation Vest by Park Williams in Beara in 4 days, which the Vacation Vest is known for being really simple. It's 5mm needles. It's all stockinette. There are no edgings. All the edgings are included in the pattern. It's just like a nice, easy project. And so I'm going to try and knit that in the UK on UK yarn. And I just thought that would be a really nice like thing to take to the conference, so I can like focus on the speakers, but also still have something in my hands because yeah, sitting still is not my thing. I'm really excited. Like I've been dying to cast this on, but I'm like, no, I'm going to cast it on the plane Thursday morning. I'm waiting till then, but it's been really hard. So I'm going to take that. And then the other thing I'm going to take, just in case I finish that, which might be crazy to think like, oh, in case I don't finish it, is I'm going to, for my July socks, I really want to knit the picnic socks, but once again, sticking with my whole stockinette vibes thing. And in August, I'm on vacation a lot of August, so I'll start the picnic socks then. But I'm going to cast on another pair of In Bloom socks by Summer Lee. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish the lace detail of one sock and the heel before I leave for the trip. And so if I finish the vest, I have this where I just can knit a foot of the sock on the trip. I wear these a lot in the summer. These are, I think I knit these maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So they're well worn, but I wear these all the time in the summer. However, I was still learning about socks, and I would make the heel longer for an ideal fit. And I would have also knit the cuff a little bit longer, or the cuff of the foot a little bit longer. I would extend that. But in the summertime, I love shorty socks. And so I have 50 centimeters, or not 50 centimeters, a little under 50 grams of this sock yarn that I got in Baltimore, and I just think it's a beautiful color. When I first fell in love with these socks, I saw it in this color. Casey from Young Folk Knits has a pair in this with like this color and then like green tips, and I'm basically just gonna copy her like I usually do because she's incredible. And so that's my plan for my sock in July. And so easy stockinette all around. I also have a secret test net that I'm going to start working on. I'm waiting for the yarn to arrive, and it's all stockinette as well. And I'm pumped, just stockinette all around, people, which is so unusual for me. Like, I feel like I'm not one of those people who likes boring projects, but it might just be that time of year where I don't have any brain capacity. I'm insane, and work is insane, and all the kids are crazy, and it's hot outside, and I just wanna go outside in the garden and knit. I'm ready for summer, not only just so my brain can have a break, but also so that I can do all these things. So yeah, I think I've talked long enough. I thought this was gonna be a short episode, but lots of rambling. Let me know what you're knitting. I am really loving summer knits. I would love to know what you're knitting. If you have a pattern that you're absolutely obsessed with, if you hate summer knits and you are knitting for winter. My secret test knit is a winter knit, and so I'm really interested to see how that goes when it's like 35 degrees outside. But let me know what you're knitting. Let me know what your plans for July are. If you're still trudging through work, or if you have vacation coming up, yeah. Like I said earlier, thank you for giving me your attention. Thanks for being here. And I hope you'll reach out on Instagram or down below and say hello. Bye, friends. Happy summer. Happy Saturday. Bye.
I've climbed the mountains in Montana, danced in the lights of New Orleans. Portland ran away with me, and San Francisco stayed with me. Nashville made its way in between.